This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
Kindness. We see it all around us. We see it when someone pays for someone else's coffee or holds the door open for another person. We see it in the smallest of gestures, like a smile or a kind word. But it's different when we turn on the news or social media. Oftentimes, what we hear about, what outlets are pushing, is the opposite of kind. Welcome to the Kindness Matters podcast. Our goal is to give you a place to relax, to revel in stories of people who have received or given kindness, a place to inspire and motivate each and every one of us to practice kindness every day. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Kindness Matters podcast. I am your host, Mike Rathbun. You might have noticed a new intro for this show. That's because the Kindness Matters podcast has joined the Deluxe Edition Network. This is a network of several podcasts, fantastic shows, each and every one, including mine. They also have a podcast of the month, this month featuring the Deluxe Edition and the Steve and Crypto Show. Check them both out at deluxeeditionnetwork.com. I have a fantastic guest for you guys today. My guest is named Nanci Reed, and she is the owner of Happily Ever Living. And she describes herself as a perfectly imperfect spiritual life coach, author, Pilates instructor, mom, wife, and welcome to the show, Nanci. So nice to have you here.
Thank you so much, Mike. It's lovely to be here with you.
I give you kudos for putting up with me because I am incredibly muddled today and I apologize, but you've been so kind and gracious.
Well, it's always about being your perfectly imperfect self, so you're never failing.
Oh, I am perfectly imperfect today, that's for sure. When we first met, well, let me go back. A spiritual life coach. Mm-hmm. For my guests that aren't familiar with that term, what exactly does a spiritual life coach do?
Well, what it means is that in addition to traditional life coaching, which I'm also certified in, which means that I can help you to look at your life from a holistic place and be able to see where you are now and where you would like to get to, and to really encourage and hold that space for you to do the inner work that is required in order to get to that next experience in your life. Well, so beyond doing that from just a purely professional place or from more of a, let's say, just purely psychology place, I'm able to also infuse a spiritual sense into the experience, where we can look at things from a bigger perspective. We can look at things from not only a linear perspective, but also more of a holographic experience.
Ooh, holographic. I like that. So when you talk about spiritual, are we talking religion or?
No, not at all. No, nothing specific. I know that there are some coaches out there that are different specific religions and they have that in their title. But for me, it's more that if you're wanting to work with somebody like me as a spiritual life coach, what that means is that you're willing to look at things on different levels, not just on what's here and now as far as your physical experience, but also looking at your spiritual experience, which is more of like the essence, right? Or the energy of your presence and how you can infuse that once you come into alignment in a secure and confident place with that, then how you can infuse that into all aspects of your life, whether it be just your general lifestyle, whether it be into your professional experiences or your interpersonal relationships. There are so many different things that we can infuse that level of certainty and clarity into but from that place of being connected to something bigger than you. That's all it really means. There's no specific name that I'm asking people to have to ascribe to or to believe in other than the possibility of themselves.
Perfect. And you've kind of coined this phrase, and it's kind of a riff on like the fairy tales, right?
Yes.
Happily, and it's not ever after.
Nope.
Talk to me about that a little bit, would you? That because that's
Well,
really fascinating to me. That's so cool.
yeah, thank you. So the thing is that we all grew up with fairy tales, right? Whether we see ourselves as the princess or as the prince or as the dragon or as the villain, all these different roles that we
Sure.
assign ourselves to and the others try to assign to us as well. But what I wanted to do with my work is to apply what has personally been such a game changer for me, which is to go from waiting for the after, everything else is perfect in life, to instead finding your happiness now and knowing that you are the author and the heroine or the hero of your own story.
So you don't have to slay the dragon first, or
Mm-mm.
wait for the prince to come and kiss you awake. You can
Nope.
start living that right now.
That's right. Anytime you decide. And that's the amazing thing is that your now moment is whatever now is for you. And so if right now isn't quite there yet, that's okay. Be gentle with yourself. There'll be another now moment and then another now moment and another now moment because now is the only time that it really exists. And so
Right.
you get to decide when that now is actually now. And whenever that is for you is always going to be the perfectly imperfect time to begin. Again, anything that you've been waiting for something external to you to give you permission to say yes to.
Yeah. And that's one of the big foundations of coaching, life coaching especially, is, you know, this notion that you're waiting for something else to happen. I know I've been certified as a happiness life coach, and it's like the whole thing is, I'll be happy if I win $1 million, or I'll be
Mhm.
happy if this happens or this happens. And you don't have to wait for that. You can be happy,
Mm-mm.
and you can choose to be happy and take the steps, and that's happiness life coaching, but it works the same this way, right?
Absolutely. And I mean, whether you put whatever adjective or any sort of word in front of the word life coaching, it's all the same. It is. It
Right.
really is. It just might be coming from a slightly different place. There might be a little bit different in form, but the content's the same. So
Sure.
the intention is the same. And a really good coach is someone who is going to empower you, the client, to know that the answers are always already within you. Even if they seem like that the coach is able to quote unquote help you get there, what a really good coach does is they hold the space knowing that you are already there, but you just don't believe it yet. And so they speak to you as though you are actually being valued and valuing yourself at the level of your dream even when that dream hasn't come true yet.
Right. Yes, absolutely. So now, and I love the fact that you refer to yourself as perfectly imperfect. And I think a lot of us would be happier in life if we just recognize that we are imperfect beings. But now tell me about your book, because you have a book as well that kind of goes along with this.
Yes. So my book is called Happily Ever Now, Not After Everything Else is Perfect. And it is a gentle guide for overcoming the paralysis of perfectionism by embracing our innate guidance. And it is part memoir. I share my own story, my perfectly imperfect, nonlinear journey. And then I also share testimonials of clients that I've worked with privately. And I have a 1 week mindset reset, sort of like a primer to get you ready to experience my 12-week Happily Ever Now program that I usually offer only in small groups online or in
Oh,
person. But as a gift, I decided to include it in the book. And so you can go at your own pace. You can repeat it as many times as you want. It's so much fun to get to repeat it and see how things have shifted in your own experience. And then beyond that, if the reader is really loving how they're feeling and what's possible when they are embracing being their perfectly imperfect self, then they can also reach out to me and work with me privately. They can come enjoy one of my group programs, or they can enjoy my new online course, Living Happily Ever Now. And there are just so many other things, and there's more books coming as well.
ooh, more books coming?
Yes, they haven't been officially announced, so I can't say anything.
Okay.
But they are on the way.
They're in the works.
Yes.
That's awesome. And we can find our listeners could find that on Amazon, I'm guessing, or where?
Yes, they can find it on Amazon, but I actually do have a dedicated book site, which
Oh.
is happilyeverNowbook.com that they can go to.
And of course, when this is all done, there'll be links to your website. Is it actually
It's NancyiReed.com.
NancyiReed.com?
Yes, not
Boom.
too hard.
That's so easy. Thank you for making that easy on everybody, me
But
especially.
it does have an I at the end though, so it's Nanci.
Right? Yeah, I
Nanci.
should. You're the only Nancy I've ever known that has spelled her name with an I. So
Yes.
do you have to say that a lot? Nancy with an I.
I do, but it's okay.
Yeah.
People are
okay.
understanding, and then they'll go, "Oh, that's memorable." So good thing.
Well, and it's special, just like you. So, excuse me, I couldn't swallow. That was weird.
Okay.
Talk to me about A Course in Miracles.
So, A Course in Miracles is a spiritual self-study thought system that I have been studying as well as teaching for several decades. And it is really a non-dualistic thought system. So again, it's not about having to believe in anything specific other than that there is another way of being in this world, but not of it. And that, however that equates for you, is again how it's going to translate into your own life. And it's not about trying to get more people to believe something different. It's not about that you need to, convert a bunch of followers or anything like that at all. That's what appealed to me so much about it, is it's not a religion. There's not churches. There's not any kind of hierarchy within the, system, quote unquote. And you don't ever need a quote unquote teacher of it. You can read it on your own, but it can be helpful to have a community or to have a group. And so that is why I have attended classes. I've worked with different mentors and different things. But truly the essence of the teaching is that it's more of a memory of looking at the things that we've blocked off that remind us that we are connected to everything and everyone, rather than we're experiencing this idea of separation.
We'll be right back to our interview with Nanci Reed right after this brief message from another Deluxe Edition Network podcast.
Welcome into Metalhead Journeys. What is Metalhead Journeys? It's exactly how it sounds. It's a journey through the world of metal by a couple of metalheads. Are you thinking of getting into metal? Where do you begin? There's so many different subgenres. What bands are good? What albums are good? We'll provide answers to all of those questions. We'll handle all the research and do all the dirty work by listening to the good, the bad, and the ugly, so you don't have to. Classic albums, new albums, bands no one's ever heard of. Get ready as we'll applaud and criticize with the same passion. This is Metalhead Journeys.
Oh, wow. Wow. So the things that we block off, are we talking traumatic events or?
Well, yeah, but it's a little bit more cosmic than that, because it's looking at it from a metaphysics perspective as well. Okay. So it's more kind of like I was saying, that things are holographic, right? But our experience of them is linear. And so what's really helpful about A Course in Miracles is it meets you in the condition you believe you're at whenever you're reading it. And so in the moment, we all believe that we're these individual bodies, right? We all believe that we have these personalities that are distinct, that are separate, that there's only certain people that we can love or that we have compassion for, and that there are people that we don't like, right? And it doesn't say that you have to be any different in your day-to-day life. but it does speak about the difference between the brain and the mind. And at the level of the mind, which is this non-temporal experience of oneness, then that's what it reminds us of, that we are still connected to. So that even though we might feel like that we're separate from that source of us, whatever you want to define that to be, there is that memory that lives within each of us. And those are those moments where we find people and we have what's called, quote unquote, a miracle, a shift in perception, a shift in the way that we've seen them or that we've seen ourselves.
Oh, okay. I think I understand that. Which is weird for an old guy. And when we talked earlier, and it was so much fun to talk to you, because we just let go, right? And you were talking to me about something that you came up with called 32 favors. And I absolutely, because this is a show about kindness and what have you, that was such a fun story for me. Can you talk to the audience about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So 32 Favors is a micro philanthropy project that I came up with when I lived in the city of Angels, Los Angeles. And I didn't know a single soul there. And I was starting my own business at the time of teaching Pilates and having my business for rehabilitation using Pilates, and then kind of doing coaching on the side too, right? And starting from scratch, not knowing anybody, choosing to make a business during the recession.
Yeah.
So
this was like 2008 time frame.
Exactly.
Okay.
It was so the idea for 32 Favors actually came about in 2009, but I moved to LA in 2008, and so I was starting to get clients here and there, but I wasn't doing really, really, really well at that point. And yet I had this dream in my heart, and I knew that I was supposed to be there. And so I had an apartment, and I had my rent paid, and I had my Pilates studio rent paid, but that was about it. Beyond that, I was seeing lots of cancellations from the clients that I did have. I was seeing, just no new business coming in, even though I kept putting myself out. So I had this thought after having a dream, and dreams have played a really big part in my life. For those that decide to read my book, you can see how much they've actually really shown up, especially very, very, very lucid ones. And so in this dream, I had this experience of needing to run a race. And a race that I was afraid to run in because it was hurdles. And I had this past experience of falling down and getting injured. Yet I kept running until I completed the race. And I didn't have to win it. I just needed to finish it. And in the dream. And then the morning I woke up and I was like, that's interesting. Well, I wonder if there's something about completion here. I wonder if there's something else that I can be doing with my time rather than just moping about all the things that aren't coming together and feeling sorry for myself and
Sure.
woe is me and all this stuff. And so instead I thought, well, I do have time right now. That's the one thing I do have. And I know a lot of people right now are under the gun, feeling like they've got to work multiple jobs for the jobs that they do have, they've got to cling to, or, all these things during the recession. And so I thought, what could I do with my time to make it be valuable? And how could I serve others by doing that as well? And so I had this thought that, well, maybe I could do favors on behalf of other people. And so I started with that idea and I posted on Craigslist, if you can believe it. And I started an email chain to some of my friends and family. And I said, hey, I've got my rent paid for the next month, basically. I've got my studio rent paid and I don't know what's beyond that. But I am committed to sharing kindness and to share kindness in whatever way is going to be the most helpful. I'm going to do one favor a day. So do you have anything that you would like to send me to be your emissary of for kindness? And it could be something small. It could be something, large, quote unquote, but it just needs to be something doable within my parameters of living in Los Angeles, being this person that I have a car and I have, so much means to things, but my heart is available, basically. And people loved it. And they started jumping on and board and they gave me this list of all these things. And I started a blog. And this is when blogs were still kind of new. And so I had
Sure.
this blog where I discussed every day the favor of the day. And people started sending me requests from all over LA, from all over the country. If it was things that I could do virtually, like, calling somebody on the phone, offering them encouragement. Somebody said, if you just went in and shared a smile with a stranger, and then talk about the experience of that as far as the pay it forward. But what I made different with my project of 32 favors was that the recipient of the favor didn't have to do anything in return. They didn't have to go out and do another favor for someone else. They could if they wanted to, and some did. But they also could just send me on my way, or they could just say thank you, or they could say, hey, I have a favor that I wanted you to do for somebody else. And so it was just this very free-flowing sort of thing. Like one person asked me if I would help deliver flowers on Valentine's Day to this florist that was struggling in their business, and they couldn't afford to hire somebody to be their delivery person. And so I did.
Cool.
I'd never delivered flowers in my entire life. I'd never done anything like that. But I said yes, and I showed up. And I remember the owner of the business, she looked at me and she was like, why are you doing this? And I was like, why not?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, the flower delivery person is probably one of the most beloved people on that particular day. So, how cool is that?
Yeah, so it was amazing. So for 32 days, because that's one day longer than the longest day of any month. So that's what I committed to doing, was to show up and be that emissary of kindness and to extend that kindness. And so the number of people that I met, that I connected with, that started following me from Facebook, my blog, all these things just blew me away. And by the end of the 32nd day, I actually had clients that wanted to work with me. I had all these new connections that I'm still close to in Los Angeles, that city that's not supposed to be so friendly, right? And yet it had a totally different experience for me. And so 32 favors will always have a very special place in my heart, because it was a decision to share deliberate kindness, even if it looked random on the surface.
Sure. Absolutely. Oh, that is so cool. Now, are those blog posts from your 32 days, are those still on your blog, on your website?
So I don't believe they're on the current website, because it was an old platform, Blogger, I think, or something like that. And then that got bought out and everything. But somewhere I do have, I'll have to look for that. That's a good idea. I have like a recorded history, basically, of the blogs themselves. And then I repeated 32 favors when life showed up again a few years after that, and I did more video blogs, and I do believe those are still floating somewhere in the Introverse too. Yeah,
that's so cool. 32 days, one day longer than the longest month. And so I love the flower thing. What else did you get to do?
Well, one of the ones that was really meaningful to me. Oh, I mean, they were fun in the way that they all had their meaning, right? Yeah. One of the ones that really spoke to me was that somebody reached out and they said, I've really been wanting to go to a 12-step meeting, but I'm too worried. I'm too afraid to go by myself. Would you go with me? And I was like, yes. Okay.
Had you ever been to one before?
Nope, I hadn't. And so I showed up, and, my stepdad was in recovery for many, many, many years, but I'd never gone to a meeting with him. And so I'd heard stories of that. But going to that one meeting, I ended up meeting so many people that I got to know as potential clients and actually became clients with me. And so it was just this incredible experience. And then the person that asked me to go, they kept going, and I believe they're still going now. So that was a really amazing thing. Another one that really stands out was that somebody asked if I would go on their behalf and donate time to the bone marrow registry and be a volunteer, because somebody close to them had recently died of leukemia. Oh. And so that was really special in my heart. And I remember going and again showing up, and I was like, hey, I'm the 32 favors girl, put me to work. And that was really amazing. And so, there were just so many of those moments where if I hadn't had said yes to trusting that message of my dream of just hanging in there and showing up and looking inside myself just one more time for that possibility, then I never would have had those experiences. And that really did cement, I guess you would say gently, my decision to infuse kindness into everything that I do and that I share and that I am.
That's so cool. What a cool message. Now, happily ever live. Yeah, I did do that right. Happily ever living. You got, oh my God, such a mess. You've got something coming up special in the new year. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so in the new year, I am going to be sharing my online course, which is Living Happily Ever Now. And in addition to that, I'm also going to be offering some live sessions to go along with it too.
Oh,
So
how
it'll
cool.
be an expansion of the program itself.
Cool. Well, that's something to look forward to. And everything the information for that and how to sign up and everything, that'll all be on your website, right?
Yes, exactly.
Cool. And you're on Insta and Facebook and all that good stuff?
Yes, and any heart-centered women listening today, I have a free private Facebook community called Sparkle Circle that is a community for collaboration, for connection, and for anyone that is really looking for that kind of sacred sisterhood.
Wow. Awesome. But wait, there's more. No, there's not. There might be. I don't know.
There is. I also have a
There's
free,
so much more.
I have a free gift that is the Align with Love self-healing gift set, where I offer a 15-minute guided meditation on inviting more gentleness into your life, as well as 7 days of self-healing journaling prompts that are basically an extension of my book, but you don't have to have read my book first. You can also just do them journaling. And I also offered a really amazing Black Friday special that is still available at a slightly reduced price in the new year. It won't be quite as good as Black Friday, but pretty close, which is...
Maybe I should put this out now and then again later in the year. We'll just
you could
run
definitely
it twice.
do that. Yes, and that's 7 simple steps for preventing holiday burnout. And
that's a real thing.
Yeah, and it's a mini ebook, and it has the guided experiences of those going through each of the steps, as well as a really special bonus too. And I also offer videos to accompany each step of the book.
Oh my gosh, you guys. Just stop the podcast now and just go to nancyreed.com and get all that stuff. And follow her on Facebook and Insta. And are you on TikTok?
I'm not. That is the one platform I have not tried. I just have so many others. I
only watch it for the videos, the funny stuff.
I know. I'm on LinkedIn. They can come find me there. They can see me on Facebook. Add me as a friend. Say hello.
Everybody needs friends, right?
That's right.
Well, Nanci, thank you so much for the gift of your time today. I really, really appreciate it. And I know that our listeners are going to get so much out of it. And if you're listening and you decide to do your own 32 favors things, we want to hear about it.
Absolutely.
Thanks again for coming on, Nanci. I really appreciate it. Have a good rest of your week.
Thanks, Mike. It's lovely getting to talk to you.
It was so fantastic having Nanci Reed on with me today. Such an amazing woman and such a great story. And 32 favors. How about that? Can you do something like that? I think we should all try. What a great, kind thing to do. And that will do it for this episode of the Kindness Matters podcast. I so much appreciate your listening today. Thank you for the gift of your time. We will be back again next week with another show. But in the meantime, be that person who roots for others, who tells a stranger that they look amazing, and encourages others to believe in themselves and their dreams. You've been listening to the Kindness Matters podcast. I am your host, Mike Rathman. Thank you, and have a great week.